Welcome back to another Rick Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing the CR-820. Now, before I get into the CR-820, I want to go ahead and let you guys know we still have the giveaway for the Apple dongle for the Amazon gift card. Just hop on over to that video, watch it, like, subscribe, and for the first 10 people that leave a comment, I'll shoot you guys out an Amazon gift card. Also, we still have the giveaway going on for the FIO FH3s. Now, I'm going to change that contest just a little bit. So once we hit 100 subscribers and you liked and you commented on that, I will go ahead and enter you into the drawing and give those away as well. So a little bit different on that, but we're changing it up for you guys. That way we grow our channel a little bit faster, and also you guys get better odds on winning those IEMs. Now that we got the channel news out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what you guys searched for in the first place. Now, the CR-820 is a beautiful vintage mid-range receiver. What we're going to be talking about today with this is some of the specs, the build quality, whether or not it would be a good purchase for you if it's one of your first vintage receivers or your first receiver in general, and if it is your first receiver in general, how we can modernize it and bring it up to date so it would be able to do things like stream Spotify, Amazon Music, Tidal, how we could integrate a remote control into it using a DAC, and then with that DAC, how we could go ahead and turn it into an AVR and stream our movies through our unit onto our speakers if that is something that you wanted to do. Balling on a budget, we all do it. So let's get right into it and talk about the CR-820. The CR-820 was built from 1977 to 1979. It has a total output of 55 watts per channel at 8 ohms and a total harmonic distortion of 0.02%. These are all great stats for the money that they were selling this for at the time, which is around $450 to $460. This unit, now you could probably get a decent one that's used that doesn't have any issues for maybe around $230 to $300. If you get one that's been upgraded with new caps and some LEDs and speaker terminals, you're going to be looking at more around the $400 range. Either way, it is a great value. Taking a look at build quality, this thing is built amazing. It has this nice wood cabinet with this beautiful veneer. This particular unit has some sort of plastic protective wrapping that came on it. I don't know if that's from factory and whoever owned it never took it off. I'm too scared to try to take it off because I feel like it's just going to try to pull up the veneer if I do. But I can't really notice it. I think it's just part of the aesthetics and I absolutely love it. In addition to this awesome wood cabinet, it has these thick vented grills on top. These things are powder coated. There's zero rust on them. They were built to last, just like this whole unit was. The front of this, you can see it has a solid aluminum front plate with these solid aluminum milled knobs. All of these knobs are solid aluminum. They are not plastic. That's detail that we don't see nowadays, and if we do, it's in the higher end receivers that are above $1,500 or more. I also love these meters that you get over here. These are for the FM tuner and allows you to tune in the channel so you can get the best sound quality out of it. I just like the way that they look too. Moving down on the faceplate, we can see that we have a bass, a presence, and a treble, and then loudness knob. Now the bass on this is pretty even keeled. I got this particular receiver because it has the most neutral sound out of the vintage receivers, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it does give you a substantial boost if you want it. The presence is basically the mid-range. The treble, it's here. I just turn it up just 2 clicks. It's not a bright unit by any means, but with the speaker pairing, it allows you to bring some of that out if you need it, or pull it back some if you need it that way. And then finally, the loudness. Now, the loudness, I really don't mess around with too terribly much. It's kind of counterintuitive. At 1, it's the loudest, and at 10, it's the quietest. But in the manual that they give you, and I actually have the manual that came originally with this, it explains it further in detail. Finally, we come over here to the recording selector. Back in the day, they used to have reel-to-reels, and you'd be able to record stuff off of your vinyl records or off of your tapes onto your reel-to-reel or even off the radio. Or if you wanted to, hook up your karaoke machine and turn yourself into a star if you wanted to do something like that. Then you have your input selectors. So over here we have tape 1, tape 2, tuner, I believe, and then it has auxiliary and phono. This right here is the volume knob. You want to go ahead and, if you get one of these that has been sitting around for a long time, open up the case, make sure it's unplugged, don't really touch anything else, but go ahead and spray in the pot some deox. By spraying the deox in there, it will help clean out the pot. And the reason why I suggest that is because the balance knob is actually directly behind the volume knob. And if there's not a lot of leeway or give, and if it's kind of tight and all gummed up in there, when you turn it up, it will want to try to turn the balance over to the left side, and when you turn it down, it'll want to try to turn the balance to the right side, or vice versa. It's a little difficult for me to try to figure it out from this side. And then this is your tuning knob for your FM receiver. What's cool about these old vintage receivers is when you turn this, I believe they called it like a fluid turning knob. So it feels like you're almost turning the knob in water. It has that resistance, but that flow to it. And what that is caused by is there's a giant weight behind this. And there's also some resistance because behind here there is, and I'll show you, a pulley and like lever rope system that moves this dial in the front and also adjusts the AM tuner on the back side of the unit. Because of the way the layout and the technology back then, and it's vintage, they had to use a little string system, I call it a rope system, in order to accomplish it all at once. It's pretty mechanically ingenious, but I love it. It's great engineering and stuff that you don't see anymore. Let's go ahead and turn this around and take a look at the backside. This thing actually weighs about 27.5 pounds, so it's pretty heavy. So if you can, try to pick one up locally, because shipping is going to cost you a little bit of money. So on the back side, we have our built-in antenna right here, and then we have our antenna section right here. So we have a 75 ohm unbalanced antenna. Moving along, we have a 300 ohm balanced antenna, and those are going to be like the antennas that you see at like Ace Hardware or somewhere like that. It's just the dual antenna that comes out and you kind of tack up with some tacks. You could get some fancier ones, and that's the one that I use, and it suits me just fine. Moving along, we have our input. So we have phono 1, phono 2, and then auxiliary. And then over here we have our tape section. So tape 1 in, tape 1 out, tape 2 in, tape 2 out. Now some of you might notice that this receiver is a little different if you've seen a vintage receiver, and that is because I upgraded the speaker terminals on the back of this. That way it will accept the modern speaker cables that we have today. I think it increases the sound quality a little bit, and it looks really good. I got it from a company, I believe it's called speakerterminals.com or .eu. I'll put a link down below so you guys can go ahead and pick up some for yourself if you want to go ahead and upgrade any vintage receiver you have. I promise you they probably have one. If not, you can contact them and they'll make you one. They're a great company out of Switzerland. It took a couple of weeks to get it shipped over here. It was also during the pandemic, and it did cost a little bit of money. I think all total it was about 70 bucks, but I think it really upgrades the look. I mean, nobody could see it because it's on the back, but it does upgrade the look of it, and it does also upgrade, I believe, the sound quality just a little bit. What's also nice about these vintage receivers is it gives you a couple spots to plug some stuff in case you're not around an electrical outlet. I don't use them, but it gives you switched and then unswitched. And finally, we have our stamp of approval letting us know that it passed inspection by M. Kyoto. I probably pronounced that really bad, but I try my best. On this unit, the wood cabinet just slides right over the top of this as one solid piece, leaving this whole intersection and the faceplate in one piece. It's truly built like a tank, and I'll show you guys. As you can see, the inside is absolutely gorgeous. It's all built with these awesome drive shafts that for the input and for the record out. You move them and it switches the switches all the way in the back. Like I said, they were limited by the technology that they had available at the time, so they had to think outside the box and used some mechanical features in order to achieve what they needed to with their design. Here's the pulley system that I was telling you guys about. It's awesome. As you turn the knob, you can see that it turns the selector in the back, and it also moves the dial indicator on the front of the receiver. The vintage receivers have a unique sound to them. They have a coloration that you would know if you've heard it before. If you haven't heard it before, the only way that I could describe it is it's warm and it's a little smoothed over. It's kind of a smoother, laid back, warm sound to them. The Yamaha has more of a neutral with less coloration compared to the other vintage receivers of its era. That's why I chose this particular unit over, say, like the Pioneer. Now, the disadvantage of having a vintage receiver is not having the modern conveniences of, say, a remote, or being able to stream your favorite app and listen to your music that way. But there is a workaround. Let me go ahead and first address how we'll go ahead and fix the streaming issue. The first thing that I would suggest when you get one of these, if it doesn't need any work, is getting one of these 3.5 millimeter, here I'll take this off, 3.5 millimeter to RCA cables. What this allows you to do is hook up into your Android if you have a 3.5 millimeter jack, or you'll need the Apple dongle, which I've done a video in the past about. Go check it out, I think you'll like it. These things are phenomenal for the value. If you have an Apple, you'll just go ahead and plug that in and then plug it into your phone. But it allows you to hook up your phone and then run it directly into the back of your receiver, and then all you have to do is turn it on to auxiliary. Now, if you want to be able to use a remote with your receiver and take it to the next level, you're going to have to get yourself a DAC, or a digital audio converter. This particular unit that I have here is a SM-SL-SU9, and it has a remote that comes with it. A lot of our modern day DACs are going to come with a remote if they're about 120 or over. You could get some value ones off of Amazon, but the sound quality in the digital audio converter may not be to your liking. So a couple tips on how to incorporate the DAC into your vintage receiver is the first thing you'll want to do is go ahead and hook it up to your vintage receiver. And you could either do it with XLR to RCA like I have, or just RCA to RCA. Either one, you're going to get great sound quality. The second thing you'll want to do is turn your volume up to the highest listening level that you'll have it during that music session. You could use the remote after you have it at that level. Make sure that your DAC is turned all the way up, and then turn this up so you know how high you want it to go. And then from that point, you could go ahead and turn it down with your remote. If somebody gives you a call, knocks on your door, you could hit the mute button or just turn it down. And then you could turn it back up to 100%, which will be at the highest level that you have your volume knob turned up to. Once you've mastered that, you could take it to the next level and hook your DAC up through a digital optic output on the back of your TV into the back of your DAC, and then RCAs from the back of your DAC out into your input on your auxiliary. Just make sure your selector is switched to auxiliary. This essentially turns your vintage receiver into an audio-video receiver, allowing you to listen to the music or audio coming out of your TV through your DAC into your vintage receiver and out onto your speakers. It's a great workaround, and it really brings this vintage receiver up to doing almost everything a modern receiver can do, except for you're going to get great styling, great build quality, and about half the price. Now, don't be afraid of buying a vintage receiver because there's the potential of something that could go wrong inside of it. Nothing lasts forever, and neither do these vintage receivers, so more than likely at some point it's going to have to get some work. What I would suggest is if you buy one, just take it in, get it a tune-up at your local shop. There's lots of them all over the country. The one that I use is Huppins out of Spokane. They do an amazing job. They'll go ahead and go through, they'll rebalance your bias, they'll go ahead and check to make sure everything is up to manufacturer specifications, clean your pots, clean your glass, replace your lights if any are burnt out, maybe hook you up with some upgraded LEDs, and then give it back to you. More than likely that thing's going to run for years without any problems. These things are built and they're built well. Sometimes they just need a little love. Alright, that was the video. So if you got any sort of enjoyment out of this, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and the bell notification. The bell notification will allow you to know when I come out with my next video and giveaway. And we're going to be trying to do that once a month, giving something away to you guys that we review here on the channel. I had a lot of fun doing this, so if you have any questions on the CR-820, or if you just want to drop me a line and ask me a question, leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And until next video, stay classy, YouTube.